Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? Like many of us, I'm sure you're feeling it. Business is hard, and now more than ever, you need to have a plan to help your business not just survive, but thrive. I'm Marcia, a business growth strategist on a mission. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for your future exit. Because a business worth selling is also a business worth owning. And I want to share those strategies that I've earned and learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have something to share with you. I've got 5 ways to turn your business into one worth selling. Go pick that up at my website at trajectorybiz, that's biz.com. So I'm excited to have my guest with me today, Ronica Brown. Ronica and the team of RBA tax advisors specialize in tax reduction planning, tax consulting, and tax preparation. Her approach helps clients reduce their taxes as much as 30% or more of what they are currently paying. Ronica holds a master's degree in accounting and taxation from Kennesaw State University, and she has over 15 years of tax planning and compliance experience, helping companies such as Home Depot, Invesco, and KMPG with tax reduction planning. She believes that every business owner should reduce their taxes and benefit from the tax law the way Congress intended them to help. Ronica continues to her technical training and continued education with organizations such as the AICPA, Wealth Ability, and the Due Diligence Project. Ronica's superpower, we all have them, is her ability to truly connect and understand her clients' greatest needs and solving their most complex tax problems. Ronica, thank you and welcome to Profit with a Plan.
Thank you, Marcia. I am super glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so the biggest question and why it's so important that I have you on the show today is really to get the listeners, the business owners, to understand the importance of your biggest expense in your business, which is the taxes, and how to really mitigate the risks that you have, to understand the challenges and take advantage, like you mentioned in the introduction, of all that Congress has laid out for business owners. Why is that so important?
It is so important. And if you think about it, whether you're even W-2 or when you start your business and continue to run your business, you are in business with Uncle Sam. He's a silent partner in your business, if you think about it, because he has to get paid. So once you're able to know the things to do to reduce the amount that you're giving your silent partner, Uncle Sam, then the more money that you will have for travel, for investment, for everything that you want to do to achieve, your version of financial freedom, your version of financial security. So it's extremely important. Even the IRS website states that, every taxpayer should do as much as they can to reduce their taxes, pay as least as they can legally. The thing is just information. I think a lot of small business owner lacks this proactive way of thinking about taxes just because there's a lot of information. The world makes it about tax season. When I got my first job, I was working as a tax associate out of college for the Home Depot in their corporate tax department. And my sister came to me and said, what are you going to do after April 15th? Because I graduated in December, start my job in January. And she's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, you work in the tax department. April 15th. I'm like, no. What I'm learning is we're doing a lot of tax planning for the current year, call it 2021. And, we're looking at ways how to reduce taxes. And I said, I don't even see the tax return that they're filing. Someone else is taking care of that. So, but when you go into the small business world, it's all focused on, let me file the tax return. Yes, it's important for you to be in compliance. Tax filing is just being in compliance. It's just telling the IRS that, yes, I've checked these boxes, I filed a return. The real savings and the real investment ROI that you can get from your CPA, from your tax advisor, is proactive implementing tax saving strategies.
Wow. You know what? That is the most important thing I've heard in a long time. Tax season is not from January to April 15th, or in my case, September or October, right? With the extensions.
All year.
Tax season is all year. There are strategies and things that you can implement throughout the year that's going to lower the taxes. And often, if you're not starting until December, it's too late, right? You've done things that you could have had advantages of, or you're too late to take advantage of opportunities for you. So tax planning is every day of the year. Am I right?
It's every day in the year. It's basically looking at the money that you're already spending in your business and said, how can I, buy whatever I want and basically make it deductible the right way or receive a tax credit for it? How can I use the money that I'm already spending to see what other tax incentives there is for this particular transaction that I'm going to partake in? The tax code is 7,000 plus pages. I mean, the truth is no one knows how big it is. That's the honest thing. No one knows how big it is. And that's why, we get in the rut. And, I can also say of CPAs as well, we get in the rut of, compliance. And then if you don't really step back and say, okay, this client is paying way too much in taxes, let me reach out to them and to see if they have time to hear me out, to say that, let's do some planning. I can help you to reduce your taxes by 30%. And let's see if you're able to do that.
Some time. They better have some time.
I know, but business owners, a lot of times we're focused on getting the money in, not keeping how much we already have.
That's one of my biggest
dance that they have to play.
That's one of my biggest philosophies is that, business owners are focusing on income. So, and how can I affect it by just doing more money making activities? But my philosophy and yours as well is that spending can make or break any business. And if you think about it, with every dollar that you're spending to make it work effectively for you, that's bringing in income and paying less taxes on it. Then that's the strategy that these business owners are forgetting about. Because they're only focused on income, and not thinking about how they're spending. Sorry, right. I have a little bit of allergies today, so my nose is tickling.
Oh, no problem.
Forgive me if I sneeze or I'm rubbing my nose.
I just got over mine, and I don't remember who has this quote, but there's this famous quote in the financial world. It's like, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, and the tax bucket is a big part of that. And that's why we said that we can help you reduce your taxes 30% based on what you're already paying with your current CPA, that we can help you find additional deductions and ways to basically reduce your taxes by utilizing the several thousand pages that we don't even know the number count of the tax code.
Right. Fantastic. So let's talk about some of those strategies that most business owners are maybe missing or leaving on the table that you talk about when you work with clients.
Right. So a lot of things is, taking business owners through these series of steps. And one of the things that we look at first are the entities. Are you maximizing the use of whatever legal entity you're using, whether it's your S Corp, corporation, partnership? Normally people start with one entity and it basically follows them throughout their business. It's not really meant to be that way. It's meant for you to make changes as your business grows, as your source of income start to, diversify and things like that, so that you can basically take advantage of the different types of income and how you're taxed. If we look right now with the new tax, the Green Book, so the Green Book is what, the new government is saying, these are the things that we want to address in the tax world. And before it becomes law, then, Congress and the House, they're going to have several discussions and they're going to come up with a final. But for example, in the Green Book, they're looking to add additional layer of tax to S corporation profits.
Oh,
so
no.
You're S corporation now. And if you don't know about this, what are you going to do? Are you going to just continue to be an S corporation when this additional layer of taxes get added to your profits? Or are you going to change? So in the past few years, I think that the good thing is, I think that a lot of business owners are aware that the tax law changes a lot with the PPP and all those things. It changes a lot. So I think that, Congress have accomplished sending that message that it changes a lot. So all of these changes that happened for the past 10 years, is your legal entity the best that you're operating under to maximize your tax savings? And then now we see the Biden-Harris administration, they're going to put out a next set of changes. And then we have to see if you need to pivot or change how you're being taxed to save, whether it's $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, who knows?
It all adds up. It all
adds up. Then we look at, tax-free money. This is money that you can pull out of your business that you don't have to pay taxes for. And a lot of S corporations actually loses out on these tax-free money because it takes a little more massaging to get money out of your S corporation from a tax-free standpoint. And, if you just follow the same thing that you used to do, that, it doesn't work. When you think about reimbursing yourself for home office, doing your board meetings and paying yourself for having those board meetings. If you have children, grandchildren, how you're able to hire them. So there are several, how you even pay for health insurance and things like that can create incentives that you're getting, $50,000, $30,000 out of the business that you're not paying taxes on. So that's the second tier that we look at is, tax-free income out of your business, tax-free cash.
That's fantastic.
Once
honestly, wait, hang on just a second. Business owners, did you hear that? You're getting money out of your business tax-free by just following a couple of little strategies that Ronica just suggested. What? This is fantastic. Okay, keep going.
Completely tax-free. So, no matter, even if your S Corp is making, 150, it doesn't matter what the number is, you should be able to get some tax-free money. And the way to know is ask yourself or ask your provider, how much of this money I'm getting tax-free? What are my reimbursements looking like? And normally, once you start seeing that money coming in, set it up in your payroll, writing yourself a check, and that it's not subject to tax. And one of the things that we've seen a lot of for the past few years is what we call a method change. So this is when you look at your past return and you didn't maximize certain deductions and savings, and the IRS allows you to go back and claim all those deductions in one tax return. So we've been doing a lot of those method changes over the past year. So those are some other things that you can do, that even though those years have passed, that you can either do amended return or even method changes. If you qualify to go ahead and basically recoup those deductions that you already thought that you have lost, completely legal. The great thing is
for 3 years, right? For 3 years, right? You can go back for 3 years
for the amended return. But for the method change, you're just telling them that you're changing how you're accounting for certain things, and then you can include it going forward. Nice. So based on each taxpayer, there's just like a boatload or a truckload or whatever it is. You get the point.
There's tons that the business owners are leaving on the table.
Exactly. And, it's normally not, no two businesses are alike. Method change may work for you, but it doesn't work for me. But there's something else that can work for me that may not work for you. People with children, things like that. So there are various things that you can basically wiggle around. And not because it works for your friend, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. And not because it worked for you, it's going to work for your friends. So the thing is with the finances, because it's so unique, then I think that's one of the reasons people say, let me just, I can't figure this out. Let me just leave it alone.
You know what? And that's something that's truly important. This is not a space that you business owners should be playing in. This is for an expert that understands those 7,000 plus pages. And the fact that it changes almost every year, you need the expert handling this side of it. Don't rely on TurboTax or, walking into some place that you don't have a relationship with to do your taxes, because I promise you are leaving money on the table. You're paying more than you should. Thank you, because I'm not paying as much, but you're paying more than you should. So that's why this
Right.
kind of relationship with someone like Ronica and a tax advisor, someone who's pre-thinking and talking to you throughout the year, is the kind of relationship you need in your business.
Exactly. So, what we try to do is just ensure that, our clients are able to get every single penny out of their business tax-free and have the lowest tax rate. And that's basically how they're able to increase their investments and basically make their money go to work for them. I know we talk about the world of tax credits, like there's so many tax credits out there. It's just amazing that business owners can take it. Say for instance, you don't do anything, at least ensure that you're getting some tax credit. If you're a business, if you have, in most states, they have what's called a retraining credit, where using the computer these days is a retraining. Apps get updated, different programs, you have to do some updates now and then, you install new programs. So depending on your state, the name may change in different states, but normally the training is attached to it. Then you can even get a tax credit for, how much you pay to your employees and, yourself and things like that for just training for the state. And,
that's fantastic. How many of us have to do classes and recertifications in the professional services world?
Recertification,
And
even
you get
just
a tax
downloading
deduction.
an app and uploading an app. When you have a app, I use Infusionsoft Keep, and oh my God, like every week there's like an update for that thing. So even program as that, if you have someone that's in-house doing your QuickBooks or something like that, just to learn how to use it, you can get a tax credit for that. So
what if you take a course? What if you take a course to improve your business or to learn a new strategy or system? That's tax deductible?
Exactly.
Yay.
Yes.
For those lifelong learners like me, that's a fabulous
lifelong
thing.
learners. And the cool thing about the credits, Marcia, is it gives you a dollar for dollar against your taxes. If you owe $1,000 and you get $1,000 in tax credit, it wipes out your $1,000 worth of taxes. Versus a deduction, that if the deduction is $1,000, you only get you only get 30% of that.
Right.
So that's why the credits are so much more powerful. They're just credits out there that you can go ahead and just use to just offset how much taxes that you're paying. I know that one of the proposals that they have out there is to do investment in renewable energy. So normally when the government puts out tax incentives for these industries to grow, sometimes taxpayers are able to participate in these industries. So it doesn't mean that you have to go put solar on your house. You don't have to have all these renewable energy stuff. It means that you can make a tax credit investment in one of these companies. They pass the credit to you, and then you get a return on your investment. So basically, instead of paying the IRS, you can get an ROI. You can get a mutual fund or a rental property type return on your tax dollars.
Really?
And that's
so tell
real.
me, wait a minute, hang on a second. Tell me a little bit more about that, because so are you saying that I make an investment in a renewable energy, something obviously that has to be approved by the system, but then, so if I put, 10,000 in that, I can get that tax credit for 10,000 if it matches and meets all the.
So it matches and wipes out your taxes, and you get a return on your investment for the $10,000 from these companies. And there's several that are like that. I know that the renewable energy space is going to have a lot more of those just because of the new initiatives that the government is putting out. And stuff like this is not new. Like they did it for farming back in the day. They did it for milk. Got milk, like there are farming credits for those things. So so each year when the government is looking, they did it for oil and gas as well. So each time the government puts money in an industry, taxpayers are able to also participate without owning those assets directly.
Interesting. And then, so are these credits something you have to apply for before you make the investment? Or is it something that, oh, well, I invested in this, so I just automatically get that credit?
Most times you're going to have to find someone who knows about it.
Of course. So yeah,
That's
just
the
because I went
key.
out and bought a Tesla doesn't mean I get a tax credit on this renewable energy, right?
Right. And then, for buying the Tesla and, like if you buy solar and put it on your house, that's, you'll get that because you buy the product.
Right.
But if you want to participate on a different level that, I'm not buying it or I already have it or I don't need it, I don't need a Tesla or I don't need this, then you can participate in a next business that just, their business is just, providing, these type of,
Renewable
credits
energy.
and basically they're just making that's their business in, providing solar to homes and things like that you can become like an actual investor in that business.
That's fantastic idea. I need to learn more about this. Okay, so we've talked about hiring your kids. We've talked about your business structure. We've talked about, a little bit about the tax credits that you can get out there, like such as training. I love the research and development one. That's where if you provide a service, now
Yes.
correct me. So that's if you provide some sort of process or system, you can the research and the creation of that new process or system or product or solution is entitled
that
to
can qualify,
credit. See, these are amazing
so that would be
things.
right. So these are, you mentioned the R&D credit, there's several in states. There's some states who give you credits for your state taxes and allow your business to deduct it, just because they want, maybe it's an education program or something that they're promoting for the state. So, as my mentor says, follow the incentives, and that's how you reduce your tax. You have to follow where the government is putting the incentives because that's where they want the money to go to, and that's how you basically get these type of tax deduction legally and approved by the IRS.
And you mentioned that these incentives and the direction that the government is investing their money and what they're hoping to build out, like you mentioned, milk and farming, and now this alternative or reusable energy. Where do we find that information? Is that what you said in the Green Book?
Right. So now the Green Book is what they're proposing. So they have like an entire section to say where they're going to basically, put more of the incentives. So now, your CPA job is basically trying to direct you to say, these are the programs that qualifies for these type of credits, and this is how you participate. Normally, people should not go out on their own because they'll get robbed.
or they'll buy something that doesn't have the incentive attached to it.
That doesn't qualify. But normally, tax professionals and actually some financial advisor may have that information once they get the approved list of vendors each year and things like that.
Right. So here's something that you've brought to my attention, and it's been to my attention over and over and over again. When we come into the tax world, right? The CPAs, the accountants, the bookkeepers, the enrolled agents, many of them are backwards looking. They're only looking at what you've done and what tax benefits we can get for what you've done. But then there are people such as yourself that are saying, hey, let's look forward and let's see what we can do today so that when we file taxes, we're going to be in a better situation. I find that it's really hard to find the strategists and the planners such as you to help me in my business. I think most business owners just think or assume that their current CPA or tax planning company or tax company is going to do forward planning, but they're really not, right?
They're really not. And normally I'll say, what services are you paying for? Accounting by nature and tax by nature, you see that it's a very backwards thing. You complete 2020 and you do your tax return in 2021 that they're asking you for information and you're like, God, I don't remember what I did last year. So by nature, the industry is backwards. thinking. You're like a historian. You do things that already happened. So I think that's why a lot of accountants get stuck in that rut of continuing to do things, because that's what the business owners are asking for. That's what they know. It's easier to talk to them about. So it is definitely an issue in the industry that we have to force ourselves to be more proactive. I was raised in a very proactive tax world, and some accountants, some of them have really tax background, some of them don't. Some of them learn how to do taxes when they start their business and start working with business owners, because not every accountant, I have a ton of CPAs, and I may have a few that does taxes, because if you think about it, CPAs are mostly financial accountants that does audits, attestation, things like that for big companies. So normally when they come to the small business world, taxes is kind of like the thing that everyone should know how to do to make money in this small business. So everyone defaults to that. And a lot of times, they have to teach themselves how to do taxes if they don't come from a background like myself, that I've always worked in taxes since I graduated from college, that I've always been a part of some company's tax department. So that's how, people like myself and others who do this type of work, they may have come from that background, similar to mine. And that's how they know that, something is wrong.
Right. So there are many different skill sets inside the accounting world. And just because someone has a CPA next to you doesn't tell you that they're going to be skilled in what you're looking for. The forward tax planning, the strategies, the thinking outside the box legally, but doing those kind of things. I think it's that investigation and that interview process. You don't just hire somebody off the street because a friend said, "Oh, Marcia's great, hire her." No, we all do our due diligence and digging in and say, what do you do? How can you plan for me? How can you cut my tax liability? How can you make my company stronger?
Those are great questions.
I think these are important things
I think we need to send that out.
Well, I'm all about making my clients, I work with them to help make their business stronger, yes, more profitable, and to prepare them for a future sale. It's all, so you can enjoy your business now and have something worth selling later. But one of the biggest strategies is, how do you make your business more profitable? And that's the tax situation.
Yes. More profitable, reduce taxes, increase cash flow. And that's a good business to sell.
That is a great business to sell. And by doing that, you're doing more for your company, you're doing more for the organization, you're doing more for the economy. And therefore, you're rewarded as a business owner with these tax deductions and these tax credits and these tax advantages. But like we said in the beginning, you can't wait until December 15th to go, "Hey, can you help me with my taxes? What do I need to do before the end of the year? I had a good year this year." That's fantastic. But guess what? There's nothing we can do. It's too late right now. Go buy a car, go spend some money that we can write off, go invest in your IRA or your 401k or your, retirement plan. I mean, that's really all you've got when you're too late.
That's normally the list of recommendations. Spend more money, get that car, defer it, put it in the 401k, and, which works for people who want to plan for, retirement. But what are some of the more permanent stuff? Because, we know that when you put the money in the retirement plan, you're going to have to pay tax on it.
But down the road. In September, we're in September right now. In September, if you're having a good year. So now you can start making investments, not purchases, but investments, such as like these renewable energy investments. This is something that you can invest in a business. This is another way of doing a business. You can invest in something so that money that's going out is going to return some money back to you. And now your business is growing in two ways: the investments that your company makes,
passive income, and
yes, I love this.
And
this is
all
so
of that.
important.
Yeah, and creating all of that. So it's my goal is if I can help, a few business owners just be a little more proactive and know that that's where the money savings is. If you want your business to make $10,000 more, $100,000 more this year, then it could be that you can reduce your taxes by that $100,000 and don't have to lift a finger and have more time for yourself and your family. So if I can spread that message to help them be more proactive, it doesn't take a lot of time to have those conversations with yourself, with, your strategic partners, your tax advisor, your coach, your, business coaches and everyone that you're working with in the financial field, then that will help, because the best clients are the ones that are able to, yes, I get it. Yes, I can find the time, because it's not fun trying to tax plan for a client and you have to be chasing them down.
Right. Well, you know what? It's not making, well, it is making you money, but you're saving them money. Shouldn't that be a priority for them?
You're saving them money. Right.
I don't understand
it's
that.
All a mindset. It goes back to the mindset and being the CEO of your business, right? And making those CEO decisions.
Totally. All right, Ronica, where can listeners find out more about you and RBA Tax and the opportunities that you help with your clients?
Yes, my website is www.rbataxadvisors.com. Email is ronica@rbataxadvisors.com. And I have some resources on my website, and I can send it to you as well, Marcia, on basically a tax savings blueprint on some of the steps that you can make to, reduce your taxes, as well as pull some cash, tax-free income from your business that I basically lay out in that download.
Fantastic. Listeners, go pick that up, because that's going to be super valuable. And you know what? If you want to save money on taxes and you want to keep more of it, right? Because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Ronica's the person that'll show you some great ideas. So speaking of ideas, I hope you found at least one or two that you can put into your business that will help you be more profitable. And don't forget, now more than ever, it's important to build your own profit plan, and taxes are a huge part of that. Don't forget to pick up my 5 ways to turn your business into one we're selling right now. Go to my website at trajectorybiz.com. And as always, Ronica and I would love to hear your questions, feedback, give us your comments, share us what ideas you took away and what you're going to implement into your business. And don't forget to subscribe on today's podcast. And then you can always catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with it. Thanks, Ronica.
Thank you.